Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's the final day, August 31st of basically the summer, right? It's
Yeah, it's over. That's it.
right, Labor Day weekend, official close of summer. But thanks for joining us. And I know I have some of our loyal listeners in Kansas City, Mr. Pugh and his family having coffee, waking up to Sports with Mono and Mono, and we thank them very much.
Better than college game day.
Yeah. And and we got, of course, let's jump right into our monologue. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today,
That's
but
sponsored by Coriano Trucking,
yes, it
Summer
is
Hill,
in
New
Summer
York.
Hill, New York. And here's my monologue. This NFL players holding out is driving me crazy. First and foremost, they're under contract, right? So, but every single team seems to buckle under and end up paying these guys, even though they're under contract. And you know what's going to happen every time somebody signs a contract, the next guy up wants, he's no longer making that kind of money, so he holds out. Perfect example, Brandon Ayuk, right? And I say, hey, San Francisco didn't win the Super Bowl last year with Brandon Ayuk. They could not win the Super Bowl with him. So it without him. So it doesn't. I wish the owners would just take a stand. And you notice, Eli, that this doesn't happen in any other sport except football. I mean, the NBA in certain
Oh yes.
circumstances, these guys demand trades and they get buckled under, and the owners give them what they want. But when you look at like Aaron Judge, if Juan Soto is going to be making more, is Aaron Judge going to hold out and not show up to work? Of course not.
Of course
But
not.
they
That's not
allow
the
this to
situation.
go on in the NFL. And I will say one thing with Dak Prescott and whatever our listeners think of him, he's doing it the exact way you're supposed to do it. This is the final year of his contract. He shows up for work, and if they pay him, they pay him. If he doesn't, he gets the opportunity to walk. But he's not breaking his contract. He's not hurting his team. He just comes to work. That is how it should be done.
Maybe
And I
because he
wish
doesn't
the
realize he's been
owners,
hurting the team the entire time. That's my other, that's the other thing.
I don't know. I don't know that
I don't
it's
know.
hurting the team.
You
I don't
know,
know. But
it's
he's
tough.
doing it the right way. He's under contract, right? And now, you still have Trent Williams, you have Hassan Reddick, and you could bet before the start of this season, Hassan Reddick and Trent Williams will have new contracts.
For
And
sure.
this will never ever end unless the owners take a stand and say, while you are under contract, you come to work, you do your job, and then we'll talk when your contract is up. Period. That's my monologue. What's
Well,
your thought?
listen. Well, first off, Brandon Ayuk just got a fantastic contract, 4-year, $120 million extension to stay with the 49ers. Why it took so long is beyond me. That's number one. The first thing I want to say. I mean, it took you that long to come up with the contract. You said you wanted to trade back in July. It took you till August, like this week, to just find out that you're going to stay with San Francisco. That's the first thought that I had to bring up.
Well,
This,
but also to that point, when you go down the list and say, "Give me the top 5 wide receivers in the game," Brandon Ayuk is not on that list. Period.
no, he's not. No, but he did help a lot with San Francisco last year when the run to the playoffs. I can give you that one.
Okay, but so
It's
did
a Super Bowl.
Debo Samuel, so did Christian McCaffrey, so
So
did
did a
Rob.
lot of players. Absolutely, no question. But I think he was also a big impact too. Now,
Yep.
I do have to agree that yes, you should be showing up to practice, showing up to these whatever the NFL requires you to do in this time period. But at the same time, also, the NFL is known for giving out fines and lawsuits, and the players are known to doing that. That's the thing. And no matter how much we want to say they need to show up to practice, it's not going to happen because we all know there's going to be a lawsuit involved. They're going to say, well, I could just do this, I can just do that. They're always going to have the upper hand no matter what. And that's the sad part about it. And
It is
we can
sad.
say so much. Listen, I agree 100%. The other leagues don't do it. But to me, the players are going to have the upper hand and they're going to win no matter what. Even if you tell whoever the person may be that you have to show up to practice. That's just how I see it.
Well, it's just something that irks me to no end. It just really bothers
And
me.
another example is Hassan Reddick, too. I mean, look at Hassan Reddick. That's another
Right, but
example.
right, a perfect example. And by the way, so let's say he's accumulated $2 million in fines. they're going to pay him, and they're going to make that fine. They'll build in the additional 2 million to pay the fine for this guy, and that's he wins.
Right.
He will win, and he will be on the field week 1. I'm sure of it. So
We do have a comment coming in from Tom. He says, I fully agree, Jim. And don't forget, for everybody else who's watching, to don't forget to comment and let us know your thoughts on anything we say or anything you want to say. We're more than happy to share it here on the show.
well, thank you, Tom. And I know he's gonna be mad at me and when we make our picks for this
Well,
week.
no, I think everybody's gonna be shocked when I make my picks already. We had a couple people on for our 12th horseshoe show this week. They were already upset with the picks. So if
All
you
right,
watch,
I don't want to give it
show,
away, but I think yeah.
I think a lot of people are gonna be
All right,
upset.
but
Maybe
listen,
we'll agree.
Eli,
We'll see.
before we do whatever, listen, but we're gonna do our NFL preview. We're gonna go division by division. You give your picks, my picks, who's gonna win. We don't need to do our Super Bowl picks just now. It's a little bit early. But let's cover a few other things in the world of sports so we could dedicate the majority of the show to the NFL and our preview picks. So a couple of things right now, right? Big upsets at the U.S. Open, right? Both Novak and Alcaraz, who everybody fully expected at least one of the two to be in finals, if not both of them in the semifinals, and shocking, they came up empty, very unusual. But that opens up the door, like we keep saying, these young kids like Tiafoe and Taylor Fritz and these young guns, right? Yannick Sinner. We've talked about these guys. It's a different landscape now. We know Alcaraz is probably the best of the young gun bunch, but he gets knocked out, and so that's wide open for these guys to be make the finals on the men's side. And on the women's side, again, you and I have talked about it many times that it's very competitive. Anybody could win on the women's side. And
100%.
there's only a handful of guys you could say that about on the men's side. But Coco Gauff, I think, is still the sentimental favorite. She's the defending champ, so it's hers to lose. And she seems to be up to the task. So we'll see how that pans out.
100%.
The FedEx Cup, right? So Tour Championship final thing. And this is you and I talked about the scoring thing, how it goes into the final match in the FedEx Cup. Scotty Scheffler went in at 10 under, and Xander Schauffele goes in at 8 under. Kind of an odd scoring system, but when it comes down to it,
That's the way
whoever
it is.
plays the best golf this weekend is going to win $25 million. Not a bad payday. Not a bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah. So
Comment now
that's
from Jack. He says, how are you guys doing? Happy college game day. Happy college game day. And thanks for watching.
hey, that's Jack, the host of the 12th Horseshoe, with my co-host as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Jack. Okay. Also, Eli, college football. So some big games today, right? I guess maybe the marquee game is Georgia Clemson.
Yes, it is. I believe it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game, but there's other games. So it's tough to bet against Kirby Smart, and especially Clemson hasn't been quote unquote the Clemson team we've grown accustomed to in the past 10 years. But this could be a bounce back year, big year for Dabo Swinney, and Kirby Smart. I think is the best football coach now that Nick Saban is no longer there in Alabama. So the season's getting underway with some big games. You have Miami's playing Florida again, and Florida's won like I think
they won a lot. They won a lot.
I think they've won like 29 or something, some high number of
it was a good number.
Home openers.
Yeah.
Doesn't have maybe not the allure that the Miami Florida State games based on past histories, which were classic college football games.
But I'm interested to see how Alabama plays though. Now with Nick Saban out there. I mean,
well, listen, he's not changing a lot. He's still going to have Jalen Milroe, who's going to be the quarterback, and so I think they got so much talent that we're going to know soon enough, probably within the first 3 or 4 weeks, how bad Alabama may or may not miss Nick Saban. So
right, but I'm just curious to see, like tonight's the first game without Coach Nick Saban coaching this team. So how is this going to factor in And really, this week 1 game tonight is going to
Yeah,
set the tone for everything. And that's why,
yeah,
to me, that's another game I want to watch as well, because that's going to set forward a lot about the future of this program and how much Nick Saban really left behind for this team. And another
yeah.
game I want to look up to, Notre Dame and Texas A&M tonight, 7:30. That's another one I'm looking at. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I think that where the college game day, I think, is
No,
today at
West Virginia.
West Virginia, Penn State, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Jack says, give me
yeah,
West Virginia to shock the world in week 1. Versus they have Penn State 12 o'clock on Fox today.
yeah. That's not going to happen. Penn State's going to win that game
Yeah, I
going
know.
away.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know about that one. I will say I think Penn State do. West
yeah.
Virginia, they have a good fan base, they have a good crowd, but they independent win Penn State though. Penn
Well,
State's Penn
you
State.
know, when you look
They got a
at
program.
the Notre Dame game, right? I mean, Texas
Yeah.
A&M is always a formidable team, and you and I've talked about this again many, many times. We're going to see new rivalries being created, right? Because how often did Notre Dame and Texas A&M play? I don't know if they've ever played, right?
Yes.
So with all of the divisions consolidating and teams transferring to different conferences and so forth, it's a new generation of rivalries that we're going to see, and some of the
Yeah.
old ones we're accustomed to, we're not going to see anymore.
2 comments coming in. Jack says Jim was right. It was in College Station, the college game day today. And we also have
Thank you.
Andrew who says, good morning, guys. Home opener in Montville. And that's our next thing that we're going to be talking about, high school football. And
Yep,
Jim will be getting through under the telling us all about that in just a little bit.
we shall. We shall. So again, you know, the start of fall means the start of college football and high school football and the NFL. So we got a lot to talk about. And yes, let's talk about high school
High
football.
school
I know
football.
your team
We
didn't
didn't
win
win.
their home opener,
No,
right?
we didn't. It was I think to me that game, one big note I had was they lost what they were good at. They were good at running the football and they kept playing like a throwing game. It really wasn't all throwing game for the offense of the Gales. I was a little disappointed. I mean, I know I wanted the Gales to throw a lot more, but they
Hmm.
did take away from what they were good at, and that was running the football. They did
Yeah.
lose 21-7. Penalties were an issue, and third down on defense was unsuccessful for majority of the game. That was some big mistakes there in that game, but we'll see if hopefully they can turn it around. It may not happen next week, though, because they have a tough Park Ridge team to face, who, again, has a new coach. An article pointed out 40% of the team has new coaches, and that is Park Ridge, who also has a new coach. They'll be up against that next week.
Yep. One of our loyal listeners is a graduate of Park Ridge High School, so he'll be delighted that we mentioned Park Ridge today
Park
on
Ridge
our
in the,
show.
yeah, I know, show. And then you have a big game, St. Joe's today, which you want to get into.
Yeah, it's St. Joe's home opener, first game of the season, and just like their rivals in the Super Conference here in New Jersey with Bergen Catholic, the number 1 team from last year, and Don Bosco was preseason ranked number 5 in New Jersey. They So St. Joe's is playing St. Francis Academy from Maryland, and St. Francis is ranked in the top 20 as far as Max Preps rankings go.
Ranking,
So they're a
right.
national powerhouse. And St. Joe's has played them before. They haven't had much luck against them, but St. Joe's is home for the opener, and you know, this is going to set the stage for the early parts of the season, because the other powerhouses, Bergen Catholic and
Right.
Don Bosco, both
Yep.
lost. And these are no cupcakes. I keep telling everybody these teams play what's equivalent in high school to an SEC schedule. It's just week after week after week. There's no bye weeks
There's nothing.
for So St. Joe's is playing a powerhouse team today. Bergen Catholic played IMG, and we all know them as
Yes.
always one of the premier high school teams in the nation.
They took a
A
loss
lot of
last night.
Yeah, and Bergen Catholic lost that game, and Don Bosco opened up the
Victorious.
season in
Oh, they also
Ohio
lost too.
against. What's that, Eli?
Yeah, Bosco lost too.
Yeah, they lost to Archbishop Hoban. Again, these are just
Powerhouse
really,
schools,
really tough schools, right? And
and they're playing a tough schedule.
yeah, so we're going to find out, what St. Joe's has and whether they can be competitive, because They got to meet Bergen Catholic and Don Bosco down the line week
Yes.
after week.
We
So
have a comment from Tom. He says Notre Dame had played Texas A&M 5 times with a 3-2 advantage. Last game was in 2001 when Texas A&M won that game.
well, okay.
Yeah,
So
thanks for the
I
stats.
was mistaken that I haven't seen it, but yeah, it's been a long, long time. But this should be a great rivalry game, and then as Jack pointed out, that's where College Game Day is today. I saw a
Yes, indeed.
little preview with Lee Corso, who's not the vibrant Lee Corso we've come to know over the course of time, but
Yeah. He's
getting a
89 though.
little
He's
old.
still doing it though. That's pretty
I
amazing
know
though to say.
he's 89, right? All right, Eli. So we got that covered, and why don't you
MLB.
give us a state of the union with Major League Baseball? What do we
Well,
got?
let's just say Shohei Ohtani. We'll start with that right away. Last night became the first player with 43 home runs and stolen bases all in the same season. It's a big night for him last night that took place. Another big moment, though, happened earlier this week. MLB catcher Danny Jansen became the first MLB player to play for both teams in the same game. That's right, same game. It was the Blue Jays Red Sox game that got suspended by rain on June 26th. He was then traded from the Blue Jays to the Red Sox. He cashed in both games. 7-3 was the final. Blue Jays on top. That was a big
Yeah.
moment there. The Yankees still at top, 79-56 the record. LA Dodgers, 81-54 still up top. Baltimore below, and Philadelphia also below. Still a tight, close race. And as you all know, White Sox have been already eliminated for a couple weeks already. So yeah.
Yeah, they already have 105 losses. So
Yeah, I mean,
let's
that's
call this maybe the worst team in Major League Baseball
at
history.
least they were the first team to go over 100.
Yeah, and
sure.
as far as the Yankees and Orioles, it seems like the Orioles have cooled off a little bit, but we expect this, so they'll pick back up. But right now, the Yanks sit atop the East at a game and a half.
Yes, it did.
They got a game this afternoon against St. Louis, so we're under 30 games. Either way, the Yankees are going to make the playoffs. The Orioles are going to make the playoffs. It's just going to be a matter of who wins to that division. And that matters because, when you get caught up in the wild card series, and I think the wild card is 3 out of 5.
Right.
Right. So, anything can happen in a shortened season. If you win the division, you're basically guaranteed a 7-game series. So that increases your chances of moving on. So, and of course, you bring up Ohtani having this incredible year, 43 homers, 43 stolen bases, really just tearing it up. And the Dodgers are, like you said, the only team over 80 wins at this point. But Aaron Judge, of course, we know all about him. And, he handles himself with just such class. Like when you see guys putting up numbers like this, they tend to get a little cocky and things like that. But this kid is a humble guy, and he's just doing his job, having a great season. Surefire MVP. Ohtani surefire in the National League.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no question. He's the top notch. I mean,
Yeah,
can't beat him.
I mean, we're seeing great stuff, and really,
In
it's
both the
just
MLB, I mean, from Soto and Judge on the American and the National League, you have a tough race. I mean, really. I mean,
right.
these guys are.
And like I said, Philadelphia seems to be, coming back to earth after a rocket ship start. But Bryce Harper admitted he's a little bit banged up, so he's kind of slumping a little bit,
Yeah,
and that'll come into play as well down the stretch because
yeah,
you're going to need your big hitters to advance in those playoffs.
for sure.
Yeah, so we got baseball covered, but we'll talk more about it. But we're less than 30 games, and that means it's down the stretch.
Now it's playoff time. Who's in? Who's out? Who's serious? And who's
Yeah,
going to fall down that roller coaster ride?
yeah. I mean, I don't even foresee any sleepers like we did last year with the
That's a
Texas
fair point.
Rangers coming. The Guardians, they're a good team, but I don't see them,
As top
able
notch.
to beat the Yankees or the Orioles in a
Right.
7-game series. So,
That's a good point.
National League may be a little bit different because you have the Atlanta Braves who just, despite all of the injuries these guys had, they lost Acuna, they just lost.
They lost a lot.
Yeah, and they just keep winning. I mean, they just
Yeah.
keep bringing these kids in, and they produce. It's great to see. And listen, for Major League Baseball, the stories we're seeing, like the Paul Skeens, and he came out of the number one pick in the draft, and he's had a great season for Pittsburgh. But they're not going anywhere, obviously. But
Of course.
and we're seeing like the new faces like Bobby Witt Jr. and there's a guy Rooker on Oakland that's got 33 home runs, which so baseball's in good shape. There's gonna be close races down to the wire, I think.
For sure.
All right, Eli, let's jump right into our NFL preview. And
show.
This is what we decided we're going to do. We're going to go division by division.
Yep.
And I'll give my who's going to win the division. Eli will give his who's going to win the division, and a little bit of analysis along the way. So let's jump right into it. We'll start with the AFC East, right? And in the division is the Jets, Miami, Buffalo, and New England. And all of the talk and all of the expectations, certainly in New York, is that the New York Jets have one of the, if not the best, quote unquote, roster. And they're going to go as Aaron Rodgers goes, as we know. If Breece Hall has that breakout year, which a lot of people are expecting him to have, and Rodgers stays healthy, he's still good. I know he's 40, but I don't see them winning 13 games. I could see them winning at least 11 games. 11-6 would be good. Maybe 12-5. But everyone's got them going, 14-3.
They got
and
high hopes for them.
That. Yeah. But so, you have Miami, and now Miami is an interesting thing because they just reinvested in Tua, and he's the guy. And but do they have enough around them? I'm not 100% sold on Tua, so I'm not sure about where Miami could have a great year. They could struggle in the division. And I know a lot of people are writing Buffalo off because they got some injuries and they traded Diggs and whatnot. But the X factor for me is still Josh Allen. I think he's awesome. He has the potential to be an MVP every single season. And the fourth team obviously is New England, and they made a decision that they're going to start not Drake May, their number one pick, number 3 pick in the draft. They're going to go with Jacoby Brissett, which when they don't win the first 2 games, they'll finally put him in there. But overall, I'm going to take Miami. I think Miami is much better than I've given them credit for. But this is going to be one of the toughest divisions. This is going to be one of the closest races in the division. But I'm not taking the Jets. I'm taking Miami. What says you, my partner?
All right. Well, I already got a lot of hate in the comments already because they already watched the show. But another show I did. Okay. But I'm going to go right ahead to the point. Miami, I like them a lot. And I really do. I think this year they signed to a new contract. Mike McDaniel, the head coach, he just signed a new contract, extending him to 2028 season. So I think last year they struggled a lot. And I think Buffalo's gotten weaker. Now they lost Stephon Diggs and a few players. So to me this year, Buffalo's going to be the winner of the division. They're going to go 12-5. I'm going to have Buffalo underneath at 11-6. And that's, again, they lost a couple players. Josh Allen's still good, but I don't think enough to earn first place. This is going to shock everybody here. I had the Patriots going in 3rd place at 6-11 and the Jets at 6-11 at 4th. Why did my...
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a shock there.
You have I even got it. The Jets are going 6-11. Wow,
yes,
that's a big bold statement. We're gonna get some mail from our Jets fans on that.
A lot of mail there. But yeah, I already got comments. I'll show that in a minute. But I just don't think that this is the year for Rodgers. Listen, we haven't seen him fully play. We can't count last year when he played in Packers in that last final year. It wasn't the result we wanted. And I feel like him at quarterback, Robert Saleh, with not the greatest coaching, I don't think this is the year for the Jets. And I don't see them. I don't see them going as high hope as everybody has them. So I have them going at 6-11. Boldest take of the night. But yeah, 6-11 for the Jets. A comment from Jason Lee, a friend of mine. He said, I agree with Jim on the Jets. My friend has them winning 6 games.
Yeah, okay. So at least you and I at this first division agree that Miami's taking the division. Is that
Right,
correct?
but we don't agree on the Jets. Right.
Okay. We don't agree on them at all, obviously. All
Listen,
right,
I don't
let's
trust
move.
them, but we'll see.
I don't. Let's move to the AFC North. We got the Ravens, Bengals, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh. And um, I think this one's pretty clear cut. I mean, it's
I think
really going
so.
to come down to two teams. It's really only going to be Cincinnati and Baltimore, right? Cleveland,
It's bottom
I'm
line,
not.
right?
They just seem to be a mess. And Deshaun Watson, you don't know what you're going to get if you get anything out of him at all. And the Steelers, either way, if they go with Fields or they go with Wilson, they're still not a division winning team, even though got to give Mike Tomlin credit, hasn't had a losing season ever in Pittsburgh. But so I'm going to take Cincinnati actually to win the division, even though people think they'll. What's the comment from we got
Comment
here?
says from Tom, I agree with Eli. Aaron will get injured again, 40 years old. Finally, somebody agrees with me. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Love the comments, Thomas. Love them. But this is, I think, going to
I'm
be
not
a
saying about the
bounce
hurt
back.
part, though. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, but this is going to be a bounce back year, I think, for Cincinnati and Joe Burrow. He's that kind of fiery, competitive guy, and I look for them to win the division here with the Ravens. But the Ravens are a really good football team, and we've seen Lamar Jackson, very talented, MVP, two-time MVP, but he hasn't gotten that. He hasn't gotten that ring. But Joe Burrow doesn't have a ring either, and he wants one, so that's where I'm going.
All right. Well, listen, as you mentioned, the Ravens and the Bengals are the two teams to watch out for in this AFC North division. Who's going to come out on top? Listen, Joe Burrow just came off of injury. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be fighting. But to me, I still see Baltimore on top, and I have them going 12-5 at number 1, and Cincinnati at 11-6 at number 2 in that division. I think it's a close race, but Baltimore just comes up on top. Now to Pittsburgh, which we know they have named Russell Wilson their Week 1 starter. I have them in last place at 7-10. I'm on the train where Justin Fields is going to have to take over for Russell Wilson and save this team from going to failure.
And that's
and
a big
I have Cleveland at 9-8. They had a good year last year. I don't know if it's going to be as great this year, but I think it's enough to earn 9-8, but they are going to miss the playoffs.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. So you got Baltimore. I got
and you have Cincinnati. Yep.
Okay. Let's move to the AFC West.
South.
We got Denver.
Oh, yeah. West. Yeah. Do it.
Right. Denver, Chargers, Raiders, Chiefs. Now it seems easy pickings, right? Patrick Mahomes, best player in the game.
That's the easiest one, I think.
I do have them winning the division. It's pretty clear cut to me. I mean, the Chargers just, is Harbaugh going to get them over the hump of being a really, really good team that doesn't go anywhere?
I don't believe it.
Denver should be a little bit of a bounce back year, but again, Sean Payton's putting his chips on Bo Nix, who I like, and we talked about him last year on the show at Oregon. I'm a big fan of his, but I think Kansas City and Mahomes still the class. And I realized Patrick Mahomes, 3 Super Bowls, he's not even 30 years old yet. I mean, he's still in his 20s.
He's going for 3P. He is. He's gonna win it.
So I think we both agree, right? Kansas
Patrick
City
Mahomes is in number, and Kansas City Chiefs are number 1. Right. We can all agree on that one. Okay. But what's the record though? What do you got record for
them? I think the Chiefs, they'll be 12-5.
That's what I got. 12-5. Yeah. 12-5.
They tend to get off to a slow start, but then they pick it up. So
who do you have for the bottom now? To finish it up for the bottom. Let's see.
Right. AFC South. We got
the West. Who do you have for the West? Raiders, Broncos, Chargers. Who do you have in that order? Just because we already know Chiefs are going to be number 1.
I don't see the Raiders. Obviously, Chargers will finish second, Denver third, and the Raiders finish at the bottom. Maybe 7 wins.
I have the other way around. I have Raiders in third, 8-9. I like Minshew this year as the starter. Chargers in last at 7-10, and Denver right in the middle at 8-9 in third.
Okay. Yeah, Minshew, to me,
He's
you
a
know,
good quarterback. I mean, look what he did in
yeah. Well, no,
Colts,
Indianapolis. Yeah,
Indianapolis. Right.
yeah,
Tom says I
I,
agree with Eli again.
yeah. Okay. I
All
think
right.
he's breaking my chops now. This
All
guy.
right. I think he is. Okay. Now we have the South.
And AFC South, right? Kind of one of those
Competitive
boring
division.
divisions, right? You
It's a
got
competitive, I think.
Jacksonville, you got the Titans, you got the Texans, and you got the Colts. I think based on what we saw with CJ Stroud last year, um, I think they can win the division. I think they win the division with again 11 wins. There's a lot of parity this year, so we're not going to see a 14-win team. Certainly not in the AFC. I don't think anyway. And Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence to me is a very talented guy. I just don't know that they have enough around him to make that team successful. I just
Okay.
don't. And you got to go. You look at the Houston, no, Tennessee Titans.
Tennessee. Yep.
Is Will Levis going to be the quarterback of the future? I don't
I don't
see.
see it. No.
I
No.
think he's going to be a very good quarterback, but that
But
in
not
that
enough
division,
to save the
I
day.
don't know. That's right. And the Colts, Colts are going to go as far as Anthony Richardson can take him. And he's already shown that he's got a history of getting hurt. I don't know what their backup plan is if that happens, but they're all in on him. But I think they still finish at the bottom of the division. I'm taking the Houston Texans in
Fair
that
point.
division.
Two comments came in. Jackson disagree with the Raiders. Their defense is very good. They've got a lot of weapons too. Antonio Pierce is the man. Then the next comment is from Joshua. He says, "You guys gonna see WWE tonight?" I got my college football plans to watch. That's but
Unfortunately, Joshua,
oh,
we don't
other
really cover WWE on the
Trevor is the
show.
best player from football. Hot take.
Trevor Lawrence, no, I don't
And the
think so.
Colts have Joe Flacco as their backup. Definitely an upgrade over Gardner. I don't know about that one.
No, I mean Joe Flacco hanging on
Gardner any
again.
day over Flacco. That's my
Yeah.
hot take for that one. Yeah.
All right.
But all right, so now my picks. Houston Texans at number 1, 11-6. I think that Houston was dominant last year. CJ Stroud proved he's one of the best rookies out there. Entering his second year, he's going to be hot again. 11-6 Houston. Jacksonville have finishing second place at 9-8. I think Jacksonville's going to be a little bit better this year, and then the Colts follow down at 9-8 and third. I like Anthony Richardson, but I just don't know how much I can trust them entering this upcoming season. I do have them missing the playoffs. In Tennessee, it lasted 7-10.
Yeah.
And
think
another
I
comment
agree.
from Eric. Good morning to all. Jim, please say hello to all the guys at the game today.
I certainly will. Eric. Thank you. You'll be missed for sure. Yeah. So I think we're both on pretty much
I'm on the
aligned on
same
the
side
AFC.
there.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, let's move on to the NFC, right? And
Yes, this is
of
where
course,
again we're gonna get comments. I have a feeling.
I know we'll get some comments. That's what we want. We encourage comments. So the NFC East, of course, the Eagles, the Giants, the Commanders, and the Dallas Cowboys. Um, I think everybody bought into Philadelphia last year when they started off like 10-1 or something, but then they kind of tanked for the rest of the way.
Correct.
So is Jalen Hurts truly that franchise quarterback? Well, they're certainly paying him like he is, but I'm going to actually, this may surprise somebody because I'm going to take the Cowboys to win that division. I think Dak Prescott, and like
Wow.
we talked a little bit earlier about him. I
So you don't
think
believe in
he's
the superstition and all that?
yeah, no, I think he's more underrated, and I think Jalen Hurts is more overrated, and I think that's going to
Wow.
pan out over 17 games. So, of course, now I can't just sit here and say, well, because I'm a Giants fan, that the Giants are going to go 12-5 because they're not. The question is whether Daniel Jones can get it done. And again, enough with this. I've been on his on the Jones bandwagon forever, but this is really a make or break. And if it's a break, both him and Shane and Dable are gone.
Right.
So, but
We're
I
waiting for
can't
Daniel
see that.
Jones.
I can't see them winning more than 7 games.
Really?
I don't think they can't beat Philadelphia. They can't beat Dallas,
What do you have,
and
Washington?
they split with Washington 1 game apiece. So, right there, but I think they'll be a little bit better. I think with the Washington Redskins, the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, you know what? He could be or he could not be. That franchise quarterback that they've been lacking for a long time. So he's going to have a little bit of growing pains, I think. But so I'm gonna take Dallas to win the division. I'm gonna have Washington and the Giants fighting for last place in the division.
Really? Okay. Well, this is going to shock a lot of people. Last year's division winner was the Dallas Cowboys. The NFC East has not had a division winner and a repeat in a very long time. So
True.
America and everybody else is going to say Philadelphia, Philadelphia, Philadelphia. I'm not on the Philadelphia trend line. I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders in first place at 11-6.
Wow.
Why? I know it's shocking, everybody. Why? Number one, Jaden Daniels looked really good in the preseason, and I feel he's going to have a CJ Stroud type year this year where he's going to lead Washington to first place and win the NFC East. Dallas is going to not win the division because, again, they won last year, and I believe the whole superstition, all that they won last year, there's no repeating there. They'll come in at 10-7 in second place, and Philadelphia at 9-8 at third. And the Giants, it's a shock number I'm going to give out, 5-12 for the Giants. I don't think Daniel Jones can do it, and I don't think that the Giants are capable of doing it. And I feel like Locke is going to take over for this team anytime soon. He's going to try to bring them back a little bit and bring them back to life. And that's in no time. But I have the Commanders winning the division. It's a hottest take there. I'm going to get comments for it. But yeah.
Yeah, but
Commanders
it's not so much a reach depending on how Jaden Daniels performs.
plays out. And he could be the CJ Stroud of this year.
But you also have Dan Quinn, right? Dan Quinn's the coach.
That's the
there
coach
now,
as well. Yes.
right? So he's probably a better coordinator than he is a head coach. He proved that in Atlanta for several years. So
We'll see how that plays out, though.
Okay, fair enough. So Eli's taking the Commanders to win the division, and I'm taking the Cowboys to repeat and break that little trend of yours.
All right. Yeah. I believe in that trend. And
Okay, so let's
Jacksonville.
go to
Mike Garvey says Jacksonville better record than the Jets. What are you smoking, Eli? Saquon Barkley will have a big year for the Eagles.
Hey, listen though, Tom. When the Eagles have, they've had guys like Boston Scott and Sanders. These kids, it's that offense. They all seem to prosper in this offense. And listen, I've always been a Saquon Barkley fan. I just don't know if he's going to be that player that pushes them over the top. I think their running game's never really been an issue. So we'll see about that. But let's move to the NFC North.
Yes.
Chicago, Minnesota, Green Bay, and Detroit. I think the easy pick here is Detroit because the way the way they've come. I don't see any reason to dispute that. I think they're really an outstanding coached team. I'm on St. Brown and the years Jared Goff has been having. I think they repeat. I know a lot of the focus is now on the Chicago Bears with Caleb Williams, and people are already putting him in the Hall of Fame, and he hasn't thrown a pass. Most quarterbacks struggle. And I don't see any reason why. He's athletic as could be, no question about it. Him and Daniels are probably the two most athletic rookies that we're going to be watching this year. But I don't think he's going to come in and make the Bears a 12-5 team.
Tom says you have to love, in quotation marks, the Packers.
Of course, we've used that pun before. I said we have a resident Packer fan from Wisconsin, Abe Vallejo. So I'm going to show him love because I've been a Jordan Love supporter.
Really,
and I just don't know that they have enough around him to bypass Detroit and the Vikings. I can't put my money on Sam Darnold. I just can't do it, and I won't do it, despite having Justin Jefferson, arguably one of the best, if not the best receiver in the game. So I look for Detroit to win it, Green Bay to come in second, and the Vikings and the Bears fight it out for last in the division.
All right, this is another bold take. This is another weak division, like the NFC South.
It
Why am
is.
I saying that? Because, well, the Detroit Lions are the only good one on this side. Green Bay is 50-50, depending on the day.
Yep.
Minnesota just had an opportunity, but just lost their quarterback in preseason. And then you have Chicago, who's going to try to fight to be on top. So obviously, we all know Detroit's going to win the division at 12-5. That's my record for them. Second place, though, I have Chicago at 8-9. Chicago at 8-9. I don't love the Packers. 7-10. Fourth place.
Oof.
Why?
Wow.
We need explanation. I know we're going to get comments here on that one. Why am I saying
Packers
that?
aren't that bad. They're not a 7-9 team. I mean, they're a 7-10 team.
But this is my reason why, though. Joe Burrow became the highest quarterback paid quarterback last year. What happened? He was injured. And did the Bengals make the playoffs? No, they fell down the track. Saying I don't hope no injury happens for Love, but I believe in the superstition and all that. And either bad luck is going to happen or it's not going to go the Packers' way this year.
Okay.
So I cannot put them at the highest stake possible. I have them at 7-10, and I have Minnesota at third at 7-10 also. I also think that they're going to just tie up with the Packers. They're going to have to fight for that last place spot. But again, I believe in that curse, and I don't think that it's going to go the way that we all expect them to go. And it's a hot take to say, but it's true. And what would Vince say? Tom says.
Well, what would Vince say? Oh, Vince Lombardi. He would roll over in his grave right now if he thought his team was going to go 7-10. But I don't know. I don't think Green Bay is that far away that they're going to fall.
I don't know, but again, I believe in this like whole superstition stuff, like with that we've seen so far in the highest paid quarterback. And that's my
but we agree Detroit will win the division.
We agree Detroit wins. The Packers, that's what we can disagree with.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on to what I think is probably the worst division in football, which is the NFC South with Tampa, New Orleans, Carolina, and Atlanta. And this is going to be one of those divisions where
you got to play rock paper
9-8 is going to win the division. And unfortunately, there's really nothing there. I can't put my money on Baker Mayfield and Tampa. New Orleans, I've seen this Derek Carr movie so many times. They're not going anywhere. Carolina's just kind of a mess. They got so much rebuilding to do. And Atlanta, at least you have Kirk Cousins. You got Bijan Robinson. So the running game, you have a solid passing game. They got good receivers. And, Kyle Pitts needs to step up if he wants to be considered, one of the best tight ends. He's got a quarterback to throw to him, and he could be successful. So I look for Atlanta to win the division at 10-7.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, I have New Orleans winning the division at 9-8. I think that they're going to be the team that is going to surprise everybody this year. So they go 9-8. Tampa falls to 9-8 at second place, but Saints come up on top. It was a fight for the wire last year with Atlanta Buccaneers and Saints. It's going to be one of those battles again. It's going to be the Saints up on top this time. Atlanta goes 8-9 in third place. Carolina 4-13 at the rock bottom.
Okay, fair enough. Wow.
Okay.
I got the division winner, and you got them in last place. Okay.
Third place.
Oh,
Atlanta.
third. All right. Okay.
I got to be a little.
Finally, we got the NFC West, and this is the first year with the Rams playing without one of the surefire Hall of Famers and Aaron Donald. The question I think is how healthy is Matthew Stafford? He's been kind of beaten up in the past couple of seasons, so they say he's healthy. If so, then they got a legitimate shot, but I don't think they have a legitimate shot. San Francisco is still the team to beat. They will win the division with a 12-5 record. I think McCaffrey and again, we've talked about it. I think Samuel's even a better receiver than Ayuk. and Kittle's one of the premier tight ends. So they're still loaded. But can Brock Purdy, make that step? He's been there. He's got a lot of supporting cast around him, so the burden isn't completely on him. But I think they're still the quality team. Arizona, bottom of the list. I think nothing of Kyler Murray. Yes, he's exciting, but he doesn't win. I think he brings a negative attitude to the team when they start to lose. So, and okay, listen, I'm going to let you tell me where your Seattle Seahawks are going to be. Is Geno Smith going to take
No.
them to the promised land?
No, but we do have a comment from the Sports Talk with John Randall. I think the Rams will be good this year. That's a good point.
Yeah, well, no, I don't dispute that. I think the Rams are, they still got a great coach and so forth, but they'll be just that notch behind San Francisco. They will have a good year and they can make the playoffs. But I'll give you your take because I don't think much of Seattle at all. I think they finished last in the division. What is your Seattle Seahawks fan here?
We already know that San Francisco won the division. They're going 13-4. We can already move that along. Rams, I have them in second place, 11-6. Where do I put Seattle? Seattle, I don't have much faith in them. I don't think with Pete Carroll on board, not a trusty quarterback, they're not going to have the good year that they have. But they are going to go third place and 6-11. Arizona goes 5-12, fourth place. I think Seattle's going to be one game better than Arizona, but not going to have the winning season that they want. But I do think that they're going to get enough of 6 wins, though. I don't know where you have them, but 6 wins is what I got for Seattle at third place.
Yeah, no, like I said, I don't really trust in Geno Smith. I think this is a transition year for them. So they finish at the bottom with Arizona. They'll fight it out at the bottom for those two teams.
Yes.
But I think San Francisco, clear winner. Still loaded. Can McCaffrey stay healthy? That'll be a big key for them because even if McCaffrey goes down, Elijah Mitchell, who was his backup, is out for the season. Out for the season. So,
and they just released Cardinals Desmond Ridder, so that doesn't help.
Right, and Desmond Ridder just got cut again,
which I was shocked about that one, but yeah.
So, okay, Eli, I think we kind of dove right into it.
And now we got to make picks for this upcoming games. We have Thursday Ravens Chiefs on 8:20 p.m. NBC opener, and then Packers Eagles in Brazil on Peacock at 8:15 on Friday. We got to make those picks.
Okay, so I'll give you my picks here, and I know I'm gonna catch holy hell from Kansas City because and this is not me betting against Patrick Mahomes, which I would never do in a big game. I'm just saying that Kansas City notoriously seems to get off to slow starts, and then they ramp it up. And Baltimore is, they're a really good team, and I think that could be a big upset in week 1, the first games of the season. So I'm actually going to take Baltimore. Okay. And Green Bay and Philadelphia. Well, this is a team, both teams. You got Love versus Hurts, and who's gonna emerge out of those two as premier players. But I do like Philadelphia. You're right. I don't think Green Bay has a lot around them to keep up with Philadelphia. So I'm going to take Philadelphia in the in that game. Philadelphia's home. They play well at home. But I am going to take Baltimore in a week 1 upset versus Kansas City.
All right. Well, I'm going to start off with Kansas City. Last year, we know that Kansas City lost by 1 point to Detroit in the opener. I had Detroit. I was lucky on that one. This time, though, based off of the AFC conference showdown game, it resulted in the Chiefs win. And Taylor Swift is still there. That's the number 1 star besides Patrick Mahomes for the team. So we all know it's going to be Kansas City that's going to take a victory, but it's going to be close, 36-33.
Okay.
Eagles, Packers in Brazil. Yeah, I like the Eagles. Not a big fan of the Packers upcoming this year. I'm taking the Eagles in this one, 24-21. Another 3-point game, going to come down to the wire. I think this one's going to be a little close for the Packers. Not as great as we say. Tom says Baltimore has the motivation to win in KC. Sad to say.
Yeah, they do.
They do. I have
And
some
it's
other
not a
NFL notes too when we're done before we
Yeah,
move
and
on to Raven points.
it's not a playoff game, so Lamar Jackson usually plays well unless it's playoff.
Yes.
So
All right. Well, I got some NFL notes real quick I'll get to before we get to random points.
go ahead.
So watch out this season for tight end Travis Kelce as he needs 1 touchdown reception to surpass Jason Witt for the 5th most time touchdown receptions by a tight end in NFL history. So watch out for that. We'll see if you can get that right away. Chiefs wide receiver Hollywood Brown will be out week 1 versus the Ravens. Not a good start for the Chiefs. Falcons trade QB Taylor Heineke to the Chargers. Running back Dalvin Cook signs with the Dallas Cowboys. Running back A.J. Dillon from the Packers is out for the season with the neck injury that was announced this week, which is not a good sign for the Packers already. Odell Beckham Jr. will miss 4 games with Miami to start the season. Chiefs released Kadarius Toney, wide receiver, instead signed Juju Smith-Schuster, which was another surprise I thought came out of the Chiefs side of things. Rams trade linebacker Ernest Jones to the Titans. Titans also trade QB Malik Willis to the Packers. And Cowboys re-signed CeeDee Lamb to a 4-year, $136 million deal.
Yeah. And that was, you just brought up a good point when you mentioned Dalvin Cook signed with the Cowboys. First of all, he's done. He's not the Dalvin Cook he was 5
No,
years
he's not.
ago. So that's the only weak spot. That unless the Cowboys shore that up, you can't go into the season with Ezekiel Elliott and a washed up Dalvin Cook. But hopefully they'll have a surprise guy because those two aren't going to get it done as the premier backs for that team. But
yes, we have a comment from Sports Talk with John Randall. He says, "I don't think Baltimore will be able to beat Kansas City because Patrick Mahomes is just that good, even without Hollywood Brown."
Listen, nobody thinks the world of Patrick Mahomes more than I do.
Yeah,
I'm just saying they get off to a slow start. That's all.
fair point.
He will be there when it comes crunch time. They will win 12 games and things will be just fine in Kansas City. But week 1 opening loss.
All right.
So good points, Eli. Thank you. Let's jump into our random points of interest, of course, which is sponsored by Lynch Toyota. Had a little communication with president of Lynch Toyota this week, who's fully recovered from his
excellent
health issues earlier in the summer, and that's great news to hear. So a couple of random points. You know how I love talking about sports memorabilia. Well, Babe Ruth jersey, the one he wore in the World Series against the Chicago Cubs, the famous called shot, sold for $24 million. All time, broke the record. I think the record that it broke for sports memorabilia was the 1952 Mickey Mantle card. I think it was his. Wow. I don't know if it was his rookie year. Maybe. Anyway, but how about that? Wanted to give a shout out to Florida, who won the Little League World Series, and big upset over Chinese Taipei.
That was a great game.
It went into extra innings, and I
really
at the
last moment.
I gotta say, the class that those kids from Florida showed when they won that game and how devastated China was, they were consoling those. These are young kids, and they're not. That just shows how well coached they are, and that was just really awesome to see. Good representation from the U.S. and Florida. That's their first Little League World Series title.
And they celebrated like champs. They were in the parade in Walt Disney World at the Magic Kingdom. They got to do like what the NFL athletes would do too. And they got a big parade coming up today. I mean, you could say it's all blue skies and sunshine for them right now.
Yeah. And I don't know. Did we cover it last week, or did we mention that Sam Rosen is retiring? Did we talk about that?
Yes, we did talk about Sam Darn. Yep, we did.
Okay. Yeah. Sam Rosen. But like I said, we got an email from one of our listeners, and the call that he made when the Rangers won the Stanley Cup in 1994 was just, he nailed it. That's one of the great calls of all time. To wrap it up, so he will be missed. And one other quick thing I saw, I didn't know this fact, but there was only one player that led the NBA, the ABA, and the NCAA in scoring. And I'll give you folks a minute or two if you know the answer before you can Google it. But
Steph Curry?
the answer, you know what? When I thought about it, I said,
Steph
yeah,
Curry.
that could
Is
have
it?
been. No, but because he didn't play in the ABA.
No, right.
And he didn't lead Davidson in score in the country.
Yeah, I don't know then.
Yeah. So anyway, the answer was Rick Barry, and
Wow.
yeah,
Not a
that
name
was
that popped up in my head.
I know. And Rick Barry, of course, not only was he a proficient scorer, obviously to lead three different leagues in scoring, he shot free throws underhand
Wow.
in the NBA. He did.
That's something
Anyway,
new we learned today.
you have a random point or two you'd like to put up here, Eli?
Not just two, I got a lot. All right. We'll start off with the WNBA, where we got some teams already clinching the playoffs already. New York, Connecticut, Minnesota, Las Vegas, Seattle, all clinched. 3 spots left. Who will take it? It's coming down to the wire. Some other good news, though, in the WNBA. A special moment happened last week as Maya Moore saw her jersey number retired and into the Raptors in Minnesota. Forward for the Lynx, she won 4 WNBA championships. No one will never again wear number 23 on the Minnesota Lynx. So congratulations to her. And no games televised on national TV today. Connecticut, Washington today on 3. A couple games tomorrow, 2 of them on NBA TV. Back to more random points. This is a non-sports one, but I'm going to kick it off with it. NASA has decided to keep the astronauts stuck on the ISS, International Space Station, until February of 2026 because they cannot trust Boeing's capsule to make a safe return home. An 8-day mission now turned into a long trip, and they'll now have to wait for a SpaceX rocket to come pick them up.
Yeah,
I
saw that. They were supposed to be there for what, 2 weeks or something?
8 days.
8 days. Yeah.
I'll be there for February. It's all right. We'll be home soon.
Okay.
But you know, safety is the number one priority. They saw what happened with Challenger in Columbia a few years ago in the space shuttle program. I don't think they wanted to take a chance knowing the issues they saw again with Boeing. Smart decision by NASA.
Yep.
All right. The NCAA slowly rolls out their men's Final Four sites. And we know that next year will be San Antonio, followed by Indianapolis. But they announced the 2031 site, which will be in Atlanta. So 2031 has Atlanta for the Final Four. Cool. Andrew Francis has been named an assistant coach on Seton Hall men's basketball team. He is a D1 coaching veteran that is now part of the program.
Okay.
The NHL announced that TNT will be home this year to the Stanley Cup Final and Winter Classic and will open up the season with a Rangers-Penguins battle along with the Avalanche Golden Knights, while ESPN Disney will open up with a triple header on October 8th on opening night. A Frozen Frenzy, which is, of course, the red zone style wraparound with all 32 teams playing, will be on October 22nd. And February 13th to 20th, NHL Four Nations Face-Off will be on ABC, ESPN, TNT, every major ABC NHL network covering the games right now. Pretty cool to see. We talked a little bit about that previously, and they'll also get the Stadium Series coming up. Steph Curry has signed a 1-year, $62.6 million extension to stay with Golden State through 2026-2027. Let's stay with that for a second. Number one, that much money for 1 year? I mean, come on. I expect a little bit more than a year. I mean, that was 1 year, $62 million. That's how much Golden State wants to keep him.
And they're not going to win. They're not going to win the championship.
But it doesn't matter. They have the Steph Curry. That's all that matters.
I know.
All right. The world of streaming continues on. MSG Networks and the Yes Network combined to create an app for a charge of $41.99 to feature the Yankees, Rangers, Islanders, Devils, Sabres, and Knicks all in one platform. MSG originally had MSG Plus, the app, but now they've decided to go with a new app, the world of streaming, into a brand new app. It's going to be called, I believe, something with the G. I didn't write down the name. I've got to Google it in a second. SNY, Homes to the Mets, are not part of this deal. No launch date has been announced yet. And ESPN announces Mike McQuarrie is the new EVP of sports production. He has been with ESPN for 37 years.
Okay.
And that's it. That's my random points. I'm just going to get the name real quick of that. For the Yes Network. I had it written down, but
all right. So we got a couple of quick
Gotham Sports app. Gotham Sports app. That's the name.
Gotham Sports app. Okay.
And now time for the entertainment segment sponsored by Vital Selections. Again, the QR code to learn more.
Yep. And I actually have a sample here.
Yes.
That
great product.
It is. So you can go scan the QR code, go read about the history of the company and the benefits.
Nice product.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got a movie recommendation.
Yep.
I'm going to say it was The Jagged Edge with Jeff Bridges and Glenn Close. Very, very clever mystery kind of a great movie though. Just great performances. I would recommend that. What's your recommendation, Eli?
All right. Well, I didn't come up with the game show one for once. Can you believe it? I know. I didn't
Yeah.
come up with the game show one. That's a shocker to America right there.
Yeah, I
No,
get
I
a lot
actually,
of feedback that you're a game show guy and you
all right.
still
Well,
haven't watched Rudy yet. I don't
no, I
know.
did not. No, I got a big homework assignment. All right.
Yeah.
My pick this week is gonna be America's Funniest Home Videos. At 7 o'clock on Sundays on ABC. It's a funny show to watch. I mean, if there's no football on, I mean, that's something, it's worth watching on a Sunday.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I know we're gonna get some disagreements on that one, but it's a good one.
All
a good
right.
show.
Hey, listen, you're entitled to your opinion. That's
Which do you like the show? Have you watched it?
I can't say that I have. No.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
No,
All right,
I know
here's
it's been on.
it's been on for
30
years.
People
Tom
must
says
be-
Eli really, and yes, I'm a big game show person. So that's why. And
Okay.
and I do like funny videos. I mean, that's a TV
Hey.
pick. I'm doing a movie today.
Hey,
Here's some
please,
photos.
you know your sports. That's for sure. Go ahead. We got a couple photos.
We got that.
That's my grandson and my son-in-law. They were at a game at Camden Yards at Baltimore last weekend. Pretty cool.
I thought it was for second Fenway, but it
No.
wasn't.
Camden Yards. Yep.
Camden Yards. All right.
And
Next one.
this is another picture of, that's my my nephew in the middle, former pitching coach at Rutgers, and his wife and baby, and of course my daughters and my grandkids.
She's
Just a great
the
family.
Welch's on the side, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
It's a good snack
Excellent.
choice. Good choice.
And I just needed to say, because tomorrow is September 1st, that is my daughter Nicole's birthday. So happy birthday to her tomorrow. All right, Eli, we're gonna wrap up with some notable passings, and
it was pretty heavy.
Yeah, one was a very shocking story with Johnny Gaudreau, of course, the Columbus Blue Jackets hockey player, but had a great career. He actually almost averaged a point a game throughout his career, so he was a heck of a player.
And his brother Matthew too.
Yeah, tragically dies in a bicycle accident with his brother, and
in Oldsmond Township, New Jersey.
On the eve of his sister's wedding, they were both supposed to be groomsmen, and
they were both cycling.
Matthew Godot, his brother, was expecting his first child, so it's just tragedy all around. And riding a bike on a road is a very dangerous thing, I've always thought. But when stuff like that happens, that's a big loss, because not only was he an excellent hockey player, he was also a real class act and considered one of the classy guys in the NHL. So that was a big loss.
For sure.
Got a couple other ones. Caden Tellier, 16-year-old Alabama high school football player, died from a hit on the field. And when you hear about this,
that one's tough.
For people that are against football, it's for reasons like that. It does happen. So that's tragic. 16 years old. I just certainly wanted to mention him. Joe
D'Alessandris.
D'Alessandris actually was a long time NFL head coach. Most recently, I think he was still the Baltimore Ravens offensive coach. He passed away unexpectedly at the age of 70. And Nick Maletti. Now, Nick Maletti was 93, but he was also the guy responsible for bringing sports to Cleveland. He brought the Cavaliers to Cleveland. Remember in the old days, it was the Cleveland Barons hockey team.
Yes.
He brought them there, and he, of course, brought the Indians there as well. So he was a big player in the world of sports, and he was 93. So wanted to pass that on as well.
And there was another one too. I had a WWE wrestler, Sid Udi, has passed away. He was born in 1960. He died this past week.
Wow. Anyway, like I said, we don't try to close the show on a down note. It's a memory.
It's a way to honor.
Yeah, it is a way to honor. And so wow, we covered a lot of ground today.
We had a great show, great day. And we have a program alert. Next week's show will be live at 9 a.m. instead of 10 a.m. That's because I have a senior football game to get to that day. So go
Yep,
Gales for next week, and we'll be
Eli
there live at 9.
Eli moonlights as a broadcaster, so that's
So, yeah.
cool. Okay.
So yeah.
So, well, thanks everybody. And of course, send us an email at sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com. And thanks, Tom, and everybody else.
Who else who commented? Really appreciate it.
Who all commented on the show today. And we had a
And
great
don't forget,
week
if you're
last
watching
week.
right here on Sports Mono YouTube channel, as soon as the show ends, you can comment down below too. We'll read your comment throughout the week. We'll respond back to you. Don't forget to email the show at sportswithmonomono@gmail.com and to follow us on all social media platforms. Information down below.
But we know without our loyal listeners, our show wouldn't exist. So, but thank you. We take you not for granted in one bit. So thank you again, everybody.
Thank you so much for all watching.
Everybody have a great long weekend, safe
Absolutely.
holiday weekend. And well, like I said, football, NFL starts this week, and then we'll be
college
back
football.
here. Yep, we'll be back here 9 o'clock
next week.
Next Saturday at 9 a.m.
Yep.
Eli,
All right.
have a great week.
You
Thanks
too.
everybody for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone.